welcome virtually to the Montreal Economic Forum, Madam Chairman Kimberly Reid. I'd like to start our interview going back to 2019. I understand that EXIM was dormant for about 4 years because it lacked board quorum, and then its board was revamped in May 2019, and you were appointed chair. Could you tell us a little bit about your journey from 2019 and also the impact of the pandemic this year in 2020? What new measures did EXIM adopt in 2020 to help U.S. exporters adapt?
Well, thank you so much, Sonia. It's great to be with you and all of our viewers virtually today. I am the first woman to chair the Export-Import Bank of the United States, also the first West Virginian to be the head of our agency in the United States. And I send my greetings from our Export-Import Bank headquarters in Washington. My office is on the northeast corner of Lafayette Park. So I can see and looking at the White House right now from my window. And I wish I could have more visitors here. And hopefully with the vaccine soon, we will be open for the public in a full way again. But you're right. There are 115 export credit agencies in the world, and our U.S. Export-Import Bank has Congress as a primary stakeholder in what we do. And so they vote on Senate-confirmed board members. And our bylaws and our charter mandate certain standards, and one is you need a quorum of 3 to 5 board members to be able to vote on deals over a certain dollar threshold. And because the Senate did not act on nominations for 4 years, and that's a little bit of inside baseball, our bank essentially shut down, except for deals under $10 million. And President Trump, when he was running for office, he was not supportive of the bank, believing what so many free market individuals in the Congress believe, that it distorts markets. And that's not the role of government. But when he was elected, he met businesses and they said, America needs to have a level playing field, and US EXIM will help us compete. And we really need EXIM. So the president changed his mind and did a 180-degree turn on his position and ended up nominating me and our board members. In that process, through a lot of Senate navigation efforts, resulted in, after a 2.5-year process for me, being confirmed on a very strong bipartisan basis, 79 to 17, actually 100% Democrat yes vote on me as a Republican to come in and reopen our bank. And so that was in May of 2019. And as soon as we did that, hard at work, reopening. I looked at our 515 staff and said, we're going to reopen our bank, reform our bank, reauthorize our bank, and provide results for the American taxpayer. We had a big hurdle from May to December of last year to have Congress come in and review our programs, as they do from time to time. And President Trump came in really loud and said, I want EXIM reauthorized for 10 years. And Congress came back and said, okay, you get 7, which is the longest reauthorization in the history of our bank. And so that gives certainty to the global marketplace and to also our exporters that virtual is going to be around for a long time. And so that happened on December 20th. So we're coming up on the year anniversary. And we had some new programs put into that. I know that we can talk about during this fireside chat. But then COVID came in March, just right after that. And so we transformed to a fully teleworking agency on March 16th. And I would say that we're working harder than ever on what we do. And we immediately put into place some important measures to be helpful to our exporters. And that includes things like our supply chain finance program and our working capital guarantee program, where we increased the coverage option from 90% to 95%. And we also extended similar extensions for medium-term single buyer insurance policies. And we're very flexible on our deadlines. And other things that are important to help our exporters in the United States. I believe that we are needed at a time like this more than ever, as we saw also in the '08 financial crisis. And so we're there for them and continue to listen and monitor on how we can be adaptive with our programs. And I would say that even includes now looking at how we can help facilitate export of our vaccine after our U.S. population is covered. So, but it's great to be with you, and I hope everyone's doing well as we ride through many months of this, but we really want to be supporting America's exporters around the world.
You mentioned, that's my next question. You mentioned how you would be supporting American exports in the pandemic, like the vaccine, for example. Any other industries you can mention that are thriving in this pandemic and those that have had more challenges?
So we are a demand-driven entity. So people make application with us when they need us. And then, of course, some of these transactions take a long time. So right now, I would say the deal flow is normal for what you would expect during a time like this, and people really trying to figure out where their business is headed. But we had deals in the pipeline going through underwriting process throughout the pandemic. So if you go to our website, www.exim and then .gov/news, you can track all that we voted on and are considering. And so we've had some really important projects that we've done throughout this time of the pandemic. And one that I'm excited about that actually should be coming back for a final board in the near future are two water projects, for example, in Ghana. But you would see that we enacted a supply chain financing program throughout the pandemic for airline industry, $500 million, and some other important projects helping our steel industry. So that's important. For our small business, what we really are focused on, 90% of our transactions, volume-wise, are for small business, and they rely on something called export credit insurance. And so that really helps protect them when they send their goods and services around the world if the buyer doesn't pay up. And so we're continuing to provide that as well. But at times you do see a delay in. And I'm told that that's what we also saw during the financial crisis, where EXIM is really triggered, probably at this point going forward. But we're doing all we can.
Of course, the pandemic, as everyone knows, resulted in the closing of the U.S.-Canadian border for non-essential travel for individuals. But the flow of goods and services continues back and forth through our very large border. But there's been a significant impact in 2020 of the pandemic on trade between our two countries. How can, in your view, your bank and its trade financing support continued growth of U.S. and Canadian jobs?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say that the new USMCA was a win-win for the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And it reduces cost, reduces red tape at the border, and increases predictability for cross-border transactions. And we know that it also raises the raising of the de minimis custom threshold means exporting with reduced paperwork without paying taxes or duties makes it better than ever. We know that Canada is the United States' largest market, larger than China, Japan, and Britain combined. And USMCA specifically recognizes the fundamental role small business plays in the North American economy. Small business being the biggest source of jobs for both of our countries. So when it comes to EXIM, U.S. exporters turn to us at times like this, and we're needed during the stressful times as we just discussed. And so that export credit insurance is something that's really big and important, and as we want to see more and more happen. I was just this morning on a call, a global meeting of my G7 colleagues from around the world. Our annual G7 meeting is taking place today, and May Reed Lavery of Canada is a great partner, and I know that in addition to ensuring that our goods and services go back and forth between our countries and were utilized as needed, we very much appreciate doing co-financing and other great things with our friends in Canada. In September of 2019, just a little bit into my tenure, I had the pleasure of speaking at the Toronto Global Forum with her and meeting so many wonderful Canadians. And from that, not only, I know this is a global audience watching today, so I would say also with the G7 countries, great networks everywhere. I have a picture here in my desk of the G12. We hosted the G12, the United States hosted it back in September. Now we're focused in on G7 issues, and COVID is front and center in our discussions today.
Well, that picture looks like a Zoom shot.
It is.
It is. Well,
I had big plans to host this wonderful meeting and take everyone to the White House and to the Capitol and have that beautiful picture, but it's a Zoom shot. So there you go.
Well, maybe we can talk a little bit about 2021. What are and global markets? What are the current priority areas and markets for EXIM's provision of export financing? You currently provide coverage in more than 185 countries. Any particular priorities for next year?
So Congress sets out some priorities for us. And of course, as chairman, I guide a lot of what we do. Something that's near and dear to my heart is sub-Saharan Africa. And we know that that's the continent's going to explode population-wise. It's a big priority for us here. And also, I think it's an exciting opportunity for United States exporters. And so we're really focused on that. During the time of COVID, doing the best outreach we can to raise awareness that EXIM is back open after being shut for 4 years, and encouraging African countries to know about us and consider us. Had the pleasure of doing the largest deal in EXIM's history a few months ago, a $4.7 billion transaction to support a major integrated liquefied natural gas project in Mozambique, and which will support about 16,700 U.S. jobs, $4.7 billion deal. But it also helped transform the country of Mozambique as they become energy self-sufficient and exporters themselves. And that touches on something else I want to mention when it comes to priorities. That deal, basically before EXIM was reopened, Russia and China were slated to do the transaction. And with our Senate confirmation, the deal came to the United States. And so we're very, very happy about that. Congress spoke loud and clear about where our priority should be in 2020 and has been, and 2021 and going forward. And that is with our reauthorization of EXIM, the 7-year reauth that I mentioned. Congress gave us a new mandate. And they told us that they're very concerned about competition with China, People's Republic of China, to be specific, or the Communist Party of China, not the Chinese people. And initiatives like Belt and Road in China 2025 and what we see happening in the African continent. And so Congress gave us a new mandate, and that was to establish a program on China and transformational exports. And the law says that we will establish this, and we should focus at least 20% of our total lending capability of $135 billion, or $27 billion out of $135 billion, at least that, to match China's rates, terms, and other conditions, deals that China is about to close around the world, that we can now come in and match the financing so that the countries and the foreign purchasers think about and hopefully come to the United States for the purchase of those goods and services. The law also challenges us to expand America's comparative leadership in the world and focus on 10 transformational export sectors. And those are sectors that include renewable energy, wireless communication /5G, water sanitation, quantum computing, fintech, biotechnology, biomedical sciences, and some others that you can read about on our website. But we want to be doing more and more of these transactions and helping our U.S. companies succeed around the world. And also working with great trusted allies and partners like Canada and other countries that may be watching today, because we know that a lot of times it's a combined deal with combined content that allows us to do things like compete with Huawei. And we really care about safe, clean networks around the world and protecting those values that we hold so dear. So Congress has given us this charge, and stay tuned.
Madam Chairman, this year, the pandemic in particular has seen a lot of attention paid to environmental, social, and governance ESG concerns, as well, in particular in Canada and also in your country. Governments vow to build back, but better. So what initiatives has your bank taken to support ESG compliant companies?
Well, again, we are a demand-driven organization. We are known as the lender of last resort, and so we want to provide that financing when needed to support U.S. exports and U.S. jobs. I mentioned our new program on China and transformational exports. One of those transformational exports that Congress wants us to focus in on is renewable energy, and that's very important to us. And so we also have a goal of supporting 5% of what we do, that it be renewable. We also want to focus on end-use energy efficiency exports. And we know that the financing for these are challenging, and we're focused on providing that. Also, energy storage is something that is included in the legislation when it comes to our program on China. I just returned from a trip to Poland and Romania, where I had the pleasure of visiting in outside of Bucharest, the Chernobyl nuclear plant, and did a big event, MOU signing with the remaining government, a $7 billion MOU, hoping to support eventual transactions that would include nuclear. And it was interesting to be at this site. And I was given a document that Ronald Reagan actually signed in 1981. Back then, we were prohibited from providing financing to Leninist and Marxist countries. And Ronald Reagan signed a waiver to say, get in there and support this Chernobyl project in 1981. And it was fun to see that, as now as we look at China, or Russia being a consideration as we look at supporting. We want USA goods and services to go into projects like this. So that gets at the clean and green, I would say, issue that we're delighted to support when it comes before our board. We have a great staff that does an environmental review of each project as well, and can't do enough and want to be doing more. Same in Poland. But obviously around the world, wherever we want to help support renewable projects and clean and green projects, absolutely delighted to do so.
Just one more question about the future, about 2021, as the vaccine starts to roll out in both our countries this month, and then will accelerate in other countries in the new year. What is your outlook for American exports in the near and the short term and the medium term?
Well, so what we're hearing right now, maybe is working capital is a preeminent concern for exporters, and as well as the intensity of global trade competition. And China's aggressive and expansive export credit financing. I just want to be sure all the viewers know we do this annual report on global competition. And this is the cover of this year's report. And you'll see that this is export credit financing. In the back, there's a list of all of the export credit agencies, 115. I was just in Bahrain, and we will have now 116. one to add to this list, but China is doing what the G7 countries are doing combined as far as export credit financing. We don't want to have it be a race to the bottom, but we want to be able to level the playing field. And we're having productive discussions at our G7 meeting, which is happening as well today, on topics like this. So we look forward to doing all we can in 2021 with applications that are being reviewed as we speak. We want to see more come in. Right now, our book is carrying about $40 billion of a maximum of $135 billion. So anyone that needs that help, please reach out to our team. And any potential purchaser of goods and services around the world, if China is coming and knocking on your doorstep, call us up and say, hey, I hear EXIM can match that financing. And you might be surprised, because I know we make the highest quality goods and services. And I hear that everywhere I go. So I think with the vaccine on the way for the world in due course, I think 2021 and beyond will be really, really bright for the world. I also think that this transformation that we've had to undergo, and I know EXIM is fully teleworking. We're working harder, but smarter, more smarter than ever. I think that this is going to help deliver new business strategies and new models of what's needed. And I bet the company that's even hosting us today for this conversation agrees with that. It's just we're transforming beyond just the widgets and goods and services. The service component is also very important. That's something that EXIM also backs. So I really want to thank you for having me, and wish you all the well with the rest of the conference here, and thank all the attendees. And please reach out at any time.
Well, we hope that you come up to Montreal next time.
Okay.
That's what we hope happens, and that we welcome you with good weather. And thank you very much, Madam Chairman. It's been very informative and very optimistic as well, which is wonderful to hear. I have one final semi-personal question. I noticed that your term ends mid-January next year, which is coming up in a month and a bit. What's your next plan? What's your next adventure?
Well, the Export-Import Bank, the chairman of it is a political appointee position with Senate confirmation process, and the term by law for EXIM's charter runs with the presidency. The chairman and one of my fellow board members, our term runs concurrent with the presidency. And so that term, even when we got confirmed, we knew no matter what day it was, it ended on January 20th, 2021. And so there are some provisions in our charter that say perhaps we can stay on until our successor is confirmed. But we know how Congress is right now, and there's a maximum of 6 months for that. But also we work at the pleasure of the president. So I am working with our transition team, spoke with them earlier this week, and want to ensure that we have put EXIM during my tenure on a strong footing, on a transformed footing for U.S. companies and workers going forward, and want to see that happen in every way. And as for me personally, I will hopefully find some great new thing to do, and that's the pleasure and beauty of life. But I really have enjoyed. It's been the most meaningful job I've ever had in my life. How could you not like having the mission of supporting U.S. jobs as an American? It's just been a tremendous honor, and such a great network. And I'm sure all of you watching are committed to our common mission as well, which is, I think, keeping our jobs going and our economies going, and being connected in this global marketplace. So I'm sure whatever I do will connect into that in some way. And I really want to thank you.
Thank you, and thank you again for your time today, Madam Chairman. This is a wrap, and thank you. Goodbye.